Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Color of the Truth, a Hong Kong action flick from 2003 that stars Anthony Wong, Jordan Chan, Raymond Wong, and Gillian Chung. It was co-directed by Marco Mak and Wong Jiang. This movie was released in the early 2000s when Hong Kong was going through at least a partial era of cheesiness in regard to some of its action movies. For example, like the Twins Effect, Skyline Cruisers, Gen Y Cops, even So Close could be mixed in there, etc. Now, most ironically, we're in 2025 now, folks, and I look back on that trend with fondness. I do. It's just I enjoy some of the action movies and some of the other cheesy movies that came out during that time period. Not all of them, but some of them. But in any case, Color of the Truth is within that era, but it takes itself more seriously than some of the other films that I mentioned here. So Wong Jiang and Seven-Up, that's his name, are good friends who serve on the police force. Unknown to honest cop Wong, Seven-Up is a corrupt police officer who has ties to the underground. During a particularly big stakeout, a showdown leaves Seven-Up dead. His son, Coke, is told that Seven-Up died at the hands of Wong and returns years later to avenge his father, opening a trail of deceit and double cross. So Lau Ching-wan and Francis Ng appear in this, and they lock down this opening sequence with their cameo appearances. And this is a good way to start the film with these two guys. So to further explain the plot here, Anthony Wong is on the hunt for Francis Ng's character, who's the bad guy. But Lau Ching-wan attempts to help this criminal escape with his inside knowledge of the police because he works for the cops. So Wan is playing both sides here, and that's why Ng does not fully trust him, even though he's trying to help him. So all three men, with Wong, they all have this confrontation on the rooftop, and two of them end up dying. It's not clearly shown what happened, but the gangsters assume that Anthony Wong shot and killed Wan during the scuffle along with Francis. So you get Wan's kid growing up, and you get Jordan Chan helping him out while he's growing up, and he changes his name, gets a job for the cops, and he seeks revenge on Wong, all the while working as his underling. And the movie lays all this out within the opening 10 to 15 minutes fairly neatly for you. So the dramatic core of the film is based on this young cop having this internal conflict because, Anthony Wong's character seems like a decent dude, and the kid questions whether or not he should go through with this act of vengeance despite the fact that the guy killed his father. And then in the meantime, you got Jordan Chan's character, in his ear, telling the kid, hey, you really should go through with this, you know what I mean? So I think the scriptwriters did a good job with this. And the final resolution has just enough nuance to make it work. I actually like the ending of this and how they kind of wrap everything up. It's not entirely predictable, but it works, I think. And in my opinion, this is Jordan Chan's, it's one of his best performances of his career. I don't really rate Jordan Chan as an elite actor, so to speak, but he did a good job in this. I liked him in this one. Now, while the central conflict is unfolding, we get a side plot involving a rivalry between two gangs, and the cops are kind of assigned to protect one of the gang leaders who's offering assistance. So they're almost like bodyguards to a certain aspect, a certain element here. And that generates most of the action beats. This is not an action-packed movie, but it does have a few good set pieces to it. There's a shootout in and around a large mansion, which has some fun interaction with Chapman Toe's character, who plays the comedic relief. I mean, this has a pretty loaded cast when you look at it. There's another shootout in an apartment that's pretty effective as well. The action is not fantastic in this movie, but it is effective and entertaining. The music in this is pretty weird. I mean, it has lots of percussion, beats, and a lot of chanting. A lot of chanting in this one. It sounds like they incorporated some yodeling and tribal chants in with the rhythmic beats. Very unique for a film of this kind from this industry, during this time period at least. So I liked it though. It added some personality to the movie. You get some synthesizer beats blended in as well. So Color of the Truth is one of those films that no one really talks about anymore, but it has a soft spot in my heart. For some reason, it just works for me. I think it's a pretty solid movie. Currently available streaming on the Roku channel, and it's also available on DVD. And as always, folks, I'll see you next time.